Hey, Terry Caliendo, Dedicated Managers here again. This is video number 4, I guess. In the last video, I talked about the 2 intro videos, and then in the last video, the 3rd video, I started working on the main template structure. And we saw that that was this part up here, and the bottom part down here, and then the content is in the middle. It's not seen right now, but if we go to the front end site, this is the header, this is the footer, and this is the website page. That's stuff that's going to show up in there. So that's where the page is where we'd start to design all of this stuff. So if we go back to where was I? Back to here. In this video, I want to show how to take the main template structure and optimize it for smaller screens. So currently, Oxygen has a top-down approach. So you design for the big screen, and then it cascades downwards. So any changes are cascaded downwards. So if I was to let's just say that let's go to the 992. So now you can see the screen change. It also zooms based on, so sometimes you get smaller, you go to a smaller screen, but things get bigger. That's because it's zoomed out. Let's say that on the, when we get down to this 480, this Frank Caliendo is absolutely huge. Let's take a look at where it starts to get too big. Here, even here, it's a little too big. So I'm just going to go into the sizing here, and notice I am on that size. So I am currently selected this icon, which is the 992. And so if I shrink it down a little bit, you can see that. So when I go back to the big one, remember the zoom changed, so that's why the size didn't change that much. But you can see we fit just about everything on there. We get a little bit smaller, and the menu has already changed. Let's talk about that real quick. I don't want the menu to change yet. So let's make sure I'm highlighting the menu, and let's go into mobile responsiveness, and let's see here, page container. So let's try 992 and below. So I've got plenty of room here because I got a very small menu. So at this level, we will keep, we're at we're currently at this level. So we want the screen to show up. Now when I get to the 992, now it changes to a menu, and I'm fine with that. So back to the size of the text here. So let's get back to the beginning. It looks good on that size. As we come down, still looks pretty good. This is where we made a change to shrink it a little bit. Now when we get down to here, I might want to shrink it again a little further. So let's bring that down. And now the icons are a little too big. And I think there's a little bit of a bug here because what we're going to see here versus what we see on the front end isn't quite the same. We'll see if that works out. But so probably at this size screen, I want these icons about this big, and the menu button. When you click on it, it activates it. So I should click it over here. The menu button's even probably a little too big, right? So we probably want to go into mobile responsiveness. I'm betting that's icon styles, and shrink the icon down just a little bit. And now let's try the smallest view. And that looks pretty good. So let's save this template. And rather than leaving and reloading it, I'm going to go back to the front end. And so now we see that when we inspect and we start to shrink things, we should see there it got smaller and smaller. So it's starting to adjust for the various screen sizes. So this would be, we could look at it as an iPhone 6, 7, or 8. That's about what it looks like. Now here, the menu, I need to fix this menu. That's why we're getting this gap on the side, is because it can't shrink. So let's go back to here. We're back on this screen, and let's fix the footer. So the footer looks good at this size. At this side, I probably want to shrink the fonts just a little bit. So that they, because there is some play in there. So I'll probably shrink them down to about right about that size, somewhere in there. Remember, I did that on a class, so that I'm changing this one, but they all change because they all have that class, because I copied and pasted them, right? I duplicated them. So let's go to the next size. And here, remember, it got bigger, but that's because the zoom changed, right? I believe it did. If we go back to all devices, 59%. Page container, we're at 67%. They got smaller. And now 992, we jump back up to 86%. So that's why they seem to get bigger, but they're really holding the size of the previous screen size up above it. So that looks good. Let's shrink down one more. This, we're starting to get really cramped. So let's shrink it down some more. And then on mobile. Now on mobile, I could shrink it down, or I could change the div to stack them vertically if I wanted to do that, and then make them bigger. And remember, that will hold its place so that when I go big, they're back to being horizontal. But at the smaller size, the CSS or the elements change, the visual of it changes, and now it's they're stacked. But I'm going to keep them horizontal and just shrink them down a little bit. I don't know what we were at before, but see how that looks. So now when we go back to the front end, if I refresh at this, even at this scale, so there, now they're small. And there, my header looks good, my footer looks good. This might be a little big, but I could go back and adjust that. We could look at it on an iPad, which would be the middle size. Probably need to make these a little bigger, or let's just take a look at what it looks like at 100%. Those we could probably make a little bit bigger, but I think you can see how I can do it. And then when we go back to my iPad Pro, is going to show it like a regular screen. And then if we go back to responsive, this will let us see all the different sizes. And we can see when this menu turns to a menu at a lower size. So that's pretty much having designed that's a quick intro basically. It's not in depth. Notice this is floating off to the side because I have it in a. I should probably put my content in a section which will hold it in place. So if I go back to the editor and I take the inner content, actually let's first shrink everything down. So in the body, let's add a section here, and we'll put that section by the inner content, and then we're going to bring this inner content inside the section. And sometimes this gets difficult to get that to work. That's another small bug that'll hopefully get worked out soon. Now when we go back to here, we should see that this is homepage is held within the frame of a decent frame of the website. So that's the header and footer, both regular and responsive. And so I guess in the next video I'll start talking about some of the other. I'll probably get into maybe the video side of how I found a plugin for that, and then I'll probably move into the designing the schedule and the newsletter. So take care, have a great day. Again, Terry Caliendo, Dedicated Managers. This is us right here, dedicatedmanagers.com. If you need any help, feel free to contact us. If you've got a project it's just too much for you, you're just watching this and you just wanted to see something, you realized it's too much, and you don't want to get into coding and building your own website, feel free to give us a call. We'd be glad to help you out. Again, dedicatedmanagers.com. This is Terry Caliendo of Dedicated Managers. Take care, have a great day, and happy programming.